third session on the topic Labor Code on Wage. The speaker is Dr. Mathew himself. The session will be moderated by Shri Suddi Tolpadi, Advocate Puttur, visiting faculty of our college. I invite Shri Sudhir sir on the stage. Now the third technical session topic is Labor Code on Wage. So over to you.
Friends, thank you for your patient listening. And I thank the organizers and the chairperson of the previous session for very generous remarks. I shall now proceed to look at the wage code. That is one of the 4 codes. And as you have already heard from the Deputy Labour Commissioner, Mr. Johnson, the wage code was enacted in 2019. In that sense, it is the first of the 4 codes. The other 3 codes are all in 2020. I think this is one of the better codes. And I was inquiring with many people who write the law as to what may be the reason why the wage code is a bit better than the other codes. And one explanation, I can't vouch for it, but one explanation that I heard was that as time goes by, the old experts on labor in the government of India also retire. And therefore in 2019, you had some more genuine good experts in the government of India. And therefore, maybe one reason why the wage code is better than the other 3 codes. But you must not get carried away. I want to give you a very fundamental caution about the wage code, and I'll do so. And therefore, I will do it in a slightly different style. And that is, I would mention to you, to begin with, there are 2 kinds of statutorily determined wages in the area of the minimum now under this new law. It was not there before. Earlier we had only the Minimum Wage Act under the 1948 legislation, Minimum Wage Act of 1948. Now, in the 2019 law, in addition to minimum wage, and don't forget this, you have the floor wage. What is this floor wage? When you already have a minimum wage, what is the meaning of a floor wage? A floor wage, conceptually speaking, can play 2 kinds of roles. One is the floor wage can act as an upward pull. In order to pull lower wages in India, which are not governed by the minimum wage notifications. Or it can do a very dangerous thing, pull the minimum wage also down to the level of a floor wage. The law prohibits this. As students of law, that's the first provision you must look at in the wage code, section 9, subclause 2, which reads as follows. The minimum rates of wages fixed by the appropriate government under section 6 shall not be less than the floor wage. Shall not be less than the floor wage. And if the minimum rates of wages fixed by the appropriate government earlier is more than the floor wage, then the appropriate government shall not reduce such rates of wages fixed by it earlier. In simple words, it's a protection of minimum wage. In order to say, even if the floor wage is below the minimum wage, you can't pull the minimum wage downwards. That is what I call a downward drag. Without doing that downward drag, what can you do? There are so many employments in India which are not covered by minimum wage, who are nowhere near the minimum wage. Their wage is abysmally low. In that case, a floor wage is welcome, because then it becomes an upward pull. So if a floor wage is used for an upward pull, I welcome it. But if the floor wage is used for a downward drag, I oppose it. And you must therefore read the wage code very carefully. Unless you read it very carefully, you may not be able to find out what it means. The reason for this apprehension to grow is not just academic research. It's because in the recent period, there is a lot of publicity literature about the wage codes. Go back to the publicity literature. There is one publicity literature which says, now every worker in India will have a minimum wage. And at the same time they say, there will be no scheduled employment. So far under the Minimum Wage Act of 1948, every appropriate government, every state government has to first declare which is the scheduled employment. In Karnataka, Deputy Labor will correct me if I am wrong, there are about 103 employments where minimum wage has been fixed. Without a scheduled employment, you cannot fix a minimum wage. Delhi government tried it, and the High Court of Delhi struck it down because they notified a minimum wage in an area where there was no scheduled employment. Now what has this court done? It has repealed scheduled employment. I would still welcome it, provided we look at it very carefully and provided we make amendments to the wage code. I'm talking of amendments, and I want to inform you about something very serious matter. Labor is in the concurrent list. You know there is a central list and there is a state list. In a concurrent list, both the center and the state can make legislation. In labor law, both center and state can make labor legislation. During the period when S.K. Kanta from Gulbarga was the labor minister of Karnataka, he amended the Industrial Disputes Act in order to say an individual can raise a dispute without waiting for, what is it called, espousal of the cause by a collective of workers. He said not necessary. And that is law. It's a law which is the result of an amendment by the Karnataka government into a central piece of labor legislation. That is the strength of concurrent list. I beg to submit that same power is available now. You can, Karnataka government can amend the 4 labor codes. But one caution, as constitutional law students, you must read carefully Article 254 of the Constitution. That deals with this question. Can you always do it? You cannot do it if you create a repugnancy. Mark this word and look for case law in order to understand what is repugnancy. If after doing research you don't find any case law, please get back to me. I will give you the case law. But please do the research yourself as law students, as labor law students. What is the meaning of repugnancy? If there is no repugnancy, then a state law can bypass a central law and become legislation even without going to the President of India. That power is there. Another even more important power, and that is, you know, in every labor legislation there is an expression which is called appropriate government. What is an appropriate government? If you are looking at the Indian Railways, if you are looking at the banks, if you are looking at the central public sector undertakings, Bharat Electronics, BHEL, HMT, ITI, all of them are central public sector. For them, the appropriate government is Government of India. For all other industries, the appropriate government is the Government of Karnataka. What does that mean? The Constitution recognizes that there are 2 fields. And in each field, there is enough room, provided you respect 254. And we have done enough exercise to understand that it can be done. Not only that, more important, if a state government does not notify in the Gazette the rules passed by the state government in respect of a particular code, that code cannot come into force in that state. The very far-reaching statement I am making. And when I made this statement among my friends, There were all kinds of doubts, and therefore I contacted two of the senior most labor lawyers, one in Chennai and the other in Delhi. And they examined the proposal and said, yes, it is doable. What is doable? You can withhold the rules, and as a result of withholding the rules, what has been notified by the Government of India on 21st November 2025 cannot come into force. Is this the reason why during the last 1 week there are feelers from the Government of India? Let us start negotiation on the 4 codes. That's a happy feature. Our friends from the Bharatiya Mazdoor Sangh mentioned it today, and I was also in a private chat. He has given me an English version of the number of changes which BMS is asking for. BMS has accepted only 2 codes. In respect of the other 2 codes, they are opposing it. And so that, enhances the strength of central trade unions. Central trade unions have rejected all the 4 codes for various reasons, which are partly political and partly legal. I won't go into that. But this, kindly note, it requires very careful research work. We are doing that in the law school, because I have got 6 excellent labor law experts, and we work together, and we have already drawn up our understanding of this interpretation. So through that, you can do it. What I am therefore saying is, be careful of the floor wage. The popular literature is wanting to collapse minimum wage and floor wage into one. And if you collapse one into the other, you will destroy the minimum wage. The minimum wage jurisprudence in India has evolved from 1948 till now. 2 Supreme Court judgments have upheld the manner in which minimum wage should be quantified. Remember this word, quantification. ಎಷ್ಟು ಹಣ ಬರಬೇಕು ಎಂಬ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ ಒಂದು ಕನಿಷ್ಠ ವೇತನದಲ್ಲಿ. That quantification, the Supreme Court has approved 15th Indian Labour Conference. You must look at 15th Indian Labour Conference and read it along with Reptacos Bread judgment of the Supreme Court. And when you do that, you find the Supreme Court said, add another 25% to the quantity that you are arriving by calculating the food requirement, the clothing requirement, the house rent requirement, the miscellaneous requirement, and put all this together and then add another 25%. So the minimum wage is an attractive sum of money if properly calculated. Do you think that is luxury? I work in the law school, and we have 20 women workers who are temporary, who are contract, and they get ಅಬ್ಬಬ್ಬ ಅಂದರೆ 15,000 ರೂಪಾಯಿ ಸಿಕ್ಕುತ್ತೆ. ಆ 15,000 ರೂಪಾಯಿ ಯಾವ ರೀತಿ ಅವ್ರು ಖರ್ಚು ಮಾಡ್ತಾರಂತ ಯೋಚನೆ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೀರಾ? ಮನೆ ಬಾಡಿಗೆಗೆ 8ರಿಂದ 10,000 ರೂಪಾಯಿ. ಮಗಳನ್ನು ಸ್ಕೂಲಿಗೆ ಬಿಟ್ಟರೆ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಇಂಗ್ಲೀಷ್ ಸ್ಕೂಲ್ ಬೇಕು. ಇಂಗ್ಲೀಷ್ ಸ್ಕೂಲಿಗೆ ಬಿಟ್ಟರೆ ಮುಗೀತು ಕತೆ. ಅದಾಗಿದ ಮೇಲೆ ಅವ್ರು ಯಾವ ರೀತಿ ಜೀವನ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೋ ಅನ್ನೋದೇ ನಮಗೆ ಆಶ್ಚರ್ಯ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. That is the so-called minimum wage. Minimum wage is not meant for that. Minimum wage is meant for need-based minimum wage. But what floor wage wants to do is remove the idea of need-based minimum wage. Because if you follow that idea, then Supreme Court comes in. Not only in Reptacos, even more important in my view is a constitution bench judgment of the Supreme Court, the only constitution bench judgment on minimum wage. As law students you will understand, 5ಗಿಂತ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಸುಪ್ರೀಂ ಕೋರ್ಟ್ ಜಡ್ಜಸ್ ಒಂದೇ ಕಡೆ ಕೂತ್ಕೊಂಡು ಒಂದು ತೀರ್ಪು ಕೊಟ್ಟರೆ ಅದು ಕಾನ್ಸ್ಟಿಟ್ಯೂಷನಲ್ ಜಡ್ಜ್ಮೆಂಟ್. ಅದು ಆ ಜಡ್ಜ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಪ್ರಕಾರ we should get minimum wage which is much more attractive. I won't quantify it now because even those who are friendly to minimum wage will run away. ಅಷ್ಟು ಅಟ್ರಾಕ್ಟಿವ್ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ ಸರಿಯಾದ ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಕನಿಷ್ಠ ವೇತನವನ್ನು ನಾವು. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಅಷ್ಟೇನಾ, ಇದು ಬರೀ ಲೇಬರ್ಗ? ಪ್ರಪಂಚದಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ವಿಷಯ ಇದೆ. ಆ ವಿಷಯ ಏನಂತ ಹೇಳಿದರೆ ಗೋಲ್ಡನ್ ಏಜ್ ಆಫ್ ಕ್ಯಾಪಿಟಲಿಸಮ್. ಏನಿದು ಗೋಲ್ಡನ್ ಏಜ್ ಆಫ್ ಕ್ಯಾಪಿಟಲಿಸಮ್ ಅಂದರೆ ಏನು? ಆ ಪೀರಿಯಡಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾಲೀಕರು, ಬಂಡವಾಳಗಾರರು ಟ್ರೇಡ್ ಯೂನಿಯನ್ನ ಎನ್ಕರೇಜ್ ಮಾಡಿದರು. ಮಾಡಿದ ಮಾತ್ರ ಅಲ್ಲ, ಅವ್ರನ್ನ ಕರೆದು ಚಾರ್ಟರ್ ಆಫ್ ಡಿಮಾಂಡ್ಸ್ ಹಾಕ್ರಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದರು. ಚಾರ್ಟರ್ ಆಫ್ ಡಿಮಾಂಡ್ ಹಾಕಿದ ನಂತರ ಅವರು ಕನ್ಸಿಲಿಯೇಷನ್ ಇಲ್ಲದೇನೆ ಸೆಟಲ್ಮೆಂಟನ್ನು ಎಂಟರ್ ಮಾಡಿದರು. ಯಾಕಪ್ಪ? ವೇಜಸ್ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಯಾಕೆ ಅವ್ರು ಮಾಡಿದರು? ಪೊಲಿಟಿಕಲ್ ಇಕಾನಮಿ ಇಸ್ ದಿ ಆನ್ಸರ್. ಬ್ರಿಟಿಷ್ ಕ್ಯಾಪಿಟಲಿಸ್ಟ್ ಆರ್ ವೆರಿ ಇಂಟೆಲಿಜೆಂಟ್ ಫೆಲೋಸ್. ಅವರ ತಿಳುವಳಿಕೆ ಏನಂತ ಹೇಳಿದರೆ, ಯಾವಾಗ ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಹಣ ಸಾಮಾನ್ಯ ಜನರ ಕೈಯಲ್ಲಿರುತ್ತೋ ಆಗ ಕೊಂಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳುವ ಶಕ್ತಿ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಪರ್ಚೇಸಿಂಗ್ ಕೆಪಾಸಿಟಿ ಇನ್ಕ್ರೀಸಸ್. ದಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಸಿಂಪಲ್ ಎಕನಾಮಿಕ್ಸ್. ದಟ್ಸ್ ವೈ ಯು ಶುಡ್ ಬಿ interdisciplinary. And when purchasing capacity increases, capitalists will produce more material. If capitalists produce more material, companies make more profit. ಇಬ್ಬರಿಗೂ ಅನುಕೂಲ. Both will result in a positive outcome. So increase minimum. That era is called the era of the golden age of capitalism. ಇಂಡಿಯಾದಲ್ಲೂ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಮಟ್ಟಕ್ಕೆ ಅದಿತ್ತು. ಎಷ್ಟರವರೆಗೆ ಕಲೆಕ್ಟಿವ್ ಬಾರ್ಗೇನಿಂಗ್ ನಡೀತಿತ್ತೋ, ಎಷ್ಟರವರೆಗೆ ಒಳ್ಳೆ ಒಪ್ಪಂದಗಳನ್ನು ನಾವು ಮಾಡಿದ್ವೋ, ಆಗ ನಮ್ಮಲ್ಲೂ ವೇತನ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆಗಿದೆ, ಬಹಳ ಮಟ್ಟಕ್ಕೆ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆಗಿದೆ. ಕನಿಷ್ಠ ವೇತನಕ್ಕಿಂತೆಲ್ಲ ಮೇಲಕ್ಕೆ ಹೋಗಿದ್ದೀವಿ ಹಲವಾರು ಕಡೆಗಳಲ್ಲಿ. ನಾನು ಟ್ರೇಡ್ ಯೂನಿಯನ್ ಲೀಡರ್ ಆಗಿದ್ದ ಒಂದು ಕಂಪನಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಇವತ್ತು, ನಾನು ಈಗ ಇಲ್ಲ, ಅಲ್ಲಿ 40,000 ಎಂಟ್ರಿ ವೇಜು. ಅನ್ಸ್ಕಿಲ್ಡ್ ವರ್ಕರ್ ಆಸಿಯಾ ಬ್ರೌನ್ ಬೋರಿಗೆ ಕೆಲಸಕ್ಕೆ ಸೇರಿಕೊಂಡ್ರೆ 40,000 ರೂಪಾಯಿಂದ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಆ ಮ್ಯಾನೇಜ್ಮೆಂಟ್ಗೆ ಏನೂ ತೊಂದರೆ ಇಲ್ಲ, ಅವರು ಇನ್ನೂ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಲಾಭ ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ದಾರೆ. 20% ಬೋನಸ್ ಸಾಕಾ ಅಂತ ಕೇಳ್ತಾರೆ ಅವ್ರು ನಮಗೆ. ಸೊ ಈ ದೇಶದ ಬಂಡವಾಳಗಾರರು ಸಿಕ್ಕಾಪಟ್ಟೆ ಲಾಭ ಮಾಡೋರಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಅವರಿಂದ ನಾವು ಯಾಕೆ ಹೆಚ್ಚು ವೇತನ ತಗೋಕೂಡ್ದು? ಯಾರಿಗೆ ಲಾಭ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ನಾವು ತಗೊಂಡಿಲ್ಲದೆ ಇದ್ದರೆ? ಆ ವಿಷಯಗಳೆಲ್ಲ ಈ ವೇಜ್ ಕೋಡಲ್ಲಿ ಸೇರ್ಕೊಂಡಿದೆ. ಅಷ್ಟು ಮಾತ್ರ ಅಲ್ಲ, ಇನ್ನೂ ವಿಪರೀತವಾದ. ಆದ್ದರಿಂದ ಗುಡ್ ಮಿನಿಮಮ್ ವೇಜ್ ಈಸ್ ಇನ್ ನ್ಯಾಷನಲ್ ಇಂಟ್ರೆಸ್ಟ್. Youngsters must realize this. Very often you presume that when labor asks for a demand, it is in labor's interest. Sorry, this demand is in national interest. There is a stagnation in the manufacturing sector in India. ಎಲ್ಲದಕ್ಕಿಂತ ದೊಡ್ಡ ಬಿಕ್ಕಟ್ಟು ನಮ್ಮ ಇಂಡಸ್ಟ್ರಿಯಲೈಸೇಷನಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, ಮ್ಯಾನುಫ್ಯಾಕ್ಚರಿಂಗ್ ಸೆಕ್ಟರ್ ಬೆಳೀತಿಲ್ಲ, ಸ್ಮಾಲ್ ಸ್ಕೇಲ್ ಇಂಡಸ್ಟ್ರಿ ಬೆಳೀತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ, ಮೀಡಿಯಮಲ್ಲೂ ಸಹ ತೊಂದರೆ ಆಗಿದೆ. ಅದು ಬೆಳೆದಿಲ್ಲದೆ ಇದ್ರೆ ಉದ್ಯೋಗ ಎಲ್ಲಿಂದ ಬರುತ್ತೆ? ಸ್ಮಾಲ್ ಸ್ಕೇಲ್ ಇಂಡಸ್ಟ್ರಿನೇ ಉದ್ಯೋಗನ ಸೃಷ್ಟಿಸೋದು. ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಸರಿಯಾದ ಉದ್ಯೋಗ ಬರಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಇಕಾನಮಿ ಡೆವಲಪ್ ಆಗಬೇಕು. ಇಕಾನಮಿ ಡೆವಲಪ್ ಆಗಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಕನಿಷ್ಠ ವೇತನ ಸರಿಯಾಗಿರಬೇಕು. ಅದು ಮಾಡೋ ವಿಧಾನಗಳೆಲ್ಲ ನಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿದೆ, ಆದರೆ ಅದನ್ನು ಸರಿಯಾದ ರೀತಿ ಉಪಯೋಗಿಸ್ಕೋಬೇಕಾಗಿರೋದು ಅಗತ್ಯ. ಈಗಾಗಲೇ ಬಹಳ ಹೊತ್ತು ನೀವು ನನ್ನ ಮಾತುಗಳನ್ನು ಕೇಳಿರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ನಾನು ಇಲ್ಲಿಗೆ ಇದನ್ನು ಮುಕ್ತಾಯ ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ದೀನಿ. ಬಹುಶಃ ಇದರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ತಾವೆಲ್ಲರೂ ಚಿಂತನೆ ಮಾಡಿ ಮುಂದುವರಿಸಬೇಕು. ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು.
How to give the maximum in a very short span of time. Sir, I do not want to repeat the words of Srimati Annapurna Madam, who told everything about your speech. But I must say that your students are very much fortunate. Of course, our learned Sir Sri Babu Mathew has enlightened us and also laid a stress on the subject of minimum wages, how minimum wages will have to be decided, and how the decision, the fixing of minimum wages is very material in the development of economy. And as far as these 4 labor laws are concerned, Atmanirbhar Bharat, this was the motto behind these legislations, of course. Not only the legislations, behind all the legislations. While giving the parliamentary speech on these laws, Prime Minister has laid a stress saying that, of course, Satyameva Jayate must be our slogan. Along with that, Shrameva Jayate is also very much important. Saying Shrameva Jayate is equivalent to Satyameva Jayate. Of course, we have to accept that one, because without labor we can't think of anything in this world. Right from every creation to destruction or disposal, whatever we may call, labor is inevitable. Therefore, it is only by labor we can live, we can gain knowledge, and we can enlighten ourselves. And without labor, there can be nothing in this world. This is what I have realized from the speeches of our learned resource persons. Of course, one more thing which I can very well remember the starting words of, the beginning words of our first speaker, Sri 𝐻𝐶 Johnson, Deputy Commissioner for Labour Commissioner, Mangalore, that what is doing justice. Sir, I am very much impressed by your words of what is doing justice. What one deserves is justice. That is very much, we have to bear in mind all the time. And as far as these labour laws are concerned, can I speak for 2 minutes, sir? Because moderator should know his limits all the time. In the struggle of history of labor, we can see that we have heard of, and we have learned and heard of, and we have read, there has been a struggle between haves and have-nots. Throughout the history of labor, the law has been trying to make a balance, strike a balance between the haves and have-nots. Haves of money, have-nots of money, haves of power, have-nots of power, and haves of virtues and have-nots of virtues. Of course, if there is a balance between haves of virtues and have-nots of virtues, then there will be no problem in my opinion, whatever it may be. This is the history what we have seen so far in the past about 75 or 76 years of after independence, and also before that. In furtherance of, we can see that in furtherance of Article 42 and 43 of the Indian Constitution, which I make a mention of because it's very much material and relevant provision of law, 42 and 43 provides for labor legislations and also the directive principles of state policy. So in furtherance of the objectives of these articles and also right to equality and Article 19, the various labor legislations have been enacted in the past several years. Of course, 29 now reduced into 4, compounded and compacted into 4 legislations with regard to which we have already heard. So there is nothing more to hear about. Because ಯಾಕೆ ಅಂತಂದರೆ ಒಂದು ನದಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಹರಿಯುವ ಪ್ರವಾಹವನ್ನು ನೋಡಿದ ನಂತರ, ಯಾಕೆಂದರೆ 2 ರಿಸೋರ್ಸ್ ಪರ್ಸನ್ಗಳು ಸಾಕಷ್ಟು ಮಾತನಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ತುಂಬ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ಮಾತನಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಪ್ರವಾಹವನ್ನು ನೋಡಿದ ನಂತರ ಯಾವುದೋ ಒಂದು ನಾಲೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಅಥವಾ ಕಣಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಹರಿಯುವಂತಹ ಒಂದು ನೀರನ್ನು ನೋಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ನಮಗೆ ಅಷ್ಟು ಇಷ್ಟ ಆಗೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಆದ್ದರಿಂದ ನಾನು ಸಬ್ಜೆಕ್ಟ್ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ವಿಶೇಷ ಮಾತನಾಡೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಈಸ್ ವಾಟ್ ಐ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಡಿಸೈಡೆಡ್. ಓಕೆ, see, as far as I'm told that I can take few more minutes, 2 or 3 minutes more. As far as labor is concerned, it is a principle that every labor must be rewarded. Every labor must be rewarded. And so also, it was the principle of Sir M.V. we can call Sir M. Visvesvaraya. Sir M. Visvesvaraya was a contemporary, of course, of D.V. Gundappa, you may be knowing very well. He used to take several advices relating to the economy, relating to the society, social life, and some other intellectual advices he used to take from D.V.G. You know, very renowned person, very learned. Everybody knows D.V.G. because his Mankutimana Kagga is a very well-known work which is known to everybody. For that, Sir M.E. was offering some rewards, which D.V.G. used to refuse. For that, Sir M.E. used to say, no, every work must be rewarded. You have to take it. Because it is your thinking, your thought, your work, your knowledge, you have to take it. But DVG was not accepting that. What Sir M.E. did, he said that, no, we will take you as an advisor to the government. ಗೌರ್ಮೆಂಟಿಗೆ ಅಡ್ವೈಸರ್ ಆಗಿ ತಗೊಳ್ತೇನೆ, ಹಾಗಾದರೂ ನೀವು ತಗೊಳ್ಬೇಕು ಅಂತ. So DVG was, you see the quality of the people. ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಹಾಗೆ ಚೆಕ್ ಮೂಲಕ ರಿವಾರ್ಡ್ ಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರಂತೆ. ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ ಅವರ ಲೇಬರ್ ಅಂತ ಇವರು ಪರಿಗಣಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರು. It was, nobody knew this, but after death of DVG, when his trunk was opened, several checks were found which were given by Sir M. Visvesvaraya to DVG on behalf of the government, which runs to lakhs. So this is, you see, great people always honor the labor, they value the labor, and they do not allow the labor ಅನ್ರಿವಾರ್ಡೆಡ್. ಅದು ಅನ್ರಿವಾರ್ಡೆಡ್ ಆಗಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಅವರು ಯಾವತ್ತೂ ಅವಕಾಶ ಕೊಡೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಲೇಬರ್ ಅನ್ನುವಂಥದ್ದು, ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಬ್ಬನ ಶ್ರಮ ಅನ್ನುವಂಥದ್ದು ಅಷ್ಟು ದೊಡ್ಡ ಒಂದು ಏನು ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ ನಾವು, ಒಂದು ವ್ಯಾಲ್ಯೂ ಇರುವಂತಹ ಒಂದು ವಿಚಾರ. As far as these 4 legislations are concerned, they came into force. Of course, they were introduced with a motto, as I have learned from the speech of our learned resource person, that they were introduced to bring an atmosphere of belongingness. ಸರ್, ತಾವು ಪಾರ್ಟ್ನರ್ಶಿಪ್ಪಲ್ಲಿ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡಿದ ಥರ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡಿದರೆ, ಎಂಪ್ಲಾಯರ್ ಮತ್ತು ಎಂಪ್ಲಾಯಿ ಇಬ್ಬರು ಕೂಡ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡಿದರೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಅಟ್ಮಾಸ್ಫಿಯರ್ ಆ ಥರ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ. ಯಾಕಂದರೆ the laborer should not feel that he is sweating in the premises of the employer, or his energy is being drained in the premises of or workplace of the employer. ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಅವನ ಶಕ್ತಿ ಕಳೆದು ಹೋಗ್ತಿದೆ, ನಾನು ಅಲ್ಲೇ ಬೆವರು ಸುರಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೇನೆ, ನನ್ನ ಜೀವನ ಪೂರ್ತಿ ಅಲ್ಲೇ ವ್ಯರ್ಥವಾಯಿತು ಅಂತ ಅವನಿಗೆ ಅನ್ನಿಸ್ಬಾರ್ದು. ಇದು ನನ್ನದು ಅಂತ ಅನ್ನಿಸ್ಬೇಕು. ಬಿಲಾಂಗಿಂಗ್ನೆಸ್, ವಾಟ್ ವಿ ಕಾಲ್. ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ವಿತ್ ದಿಸ್ motive or motto, the 4 labor laws are introduced into our system, which is a very welcoming factor, we must say. And as far as I must very grateful to the speakers who have thought, especially the present speaker of present session, who is sitting in the stage, Shri Babu Mathew, who enlightened us on so many aspects. And I have learned, of course, as a teacher, I must say, I have learned how to give the maximum in a very short span of time. But of course, I may not be eligible for that because I am not that much learned. I am very grateful to you, sir. Thank you all.
Sorry for returning to the mic. I want to say 2 things. One is Dr. Ravindran has been very generous towards me, and as a result I have been bestowed designations which I do not have. It's my duty to say so publicly. I am not a PhD in law, and I am not emeritus professor. As far as I know, there's only one emeritus professor, and that is Professor Upendra Bakshi. I've been his student, and so that's a clarification. More important than that, you must not get the impression that I am opposed to everything in the in the 4 labor codes. Let me mention one aspect which I completely welcome, and that is in the Industrial Relations Code. And students of law, please note these subsections to understand the full implication of that. Please note 2ZR, read with 2ZR of the IR code, read with 2M of the Unorganized Workers Social Security Act of 2008. ಇವು ಎರಡನ್ನ ದಯವಿಟ್ಟು ಓದಿ. ಅದರಿಂದ ಬರೋದೇನಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, ಎ ಕಂಪ್ಲೀಟ್ ನ್ಯೂ ಜ್ಯೂರಿಸ್ಪ್ರೂಡೆನ್ಸ್, ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ದ ಕ್ರೆಡಿಟ್ ಗೋಸ್ to the central government for bringing this idea. But that definition, applies only to chapter 3 of the Industrial Relations Code. It doesn't apply to other chapters. And what does chapter deal with? It gives you compulsory recognition of trade union for the first time in a piece of national legislation in India. When Jagjeevan Ram was the first labor minister, he introduced an amendment to the Trade Union Act of 1926, and the Nehru government refused to give force to that amendment. So from that time till now, this is the first time the IR code is giving compulsory negotiation, collective bargaining. And if that is not respected, it will become an unfair labor practice. It's very far-reaching. There are more elements to it. Please read section 14 of the IR code to understand the full gamut of it. I cannot do that after having taken so much time. Thank you.
The ease and grace with which Professor briefed two topics itself says is in the field. Thank you so much, sir.
ಸುದ್ದಿ ಚಾನಲ್ ಕ್ಷಣ ಕ್ಷಣದ ಸುದ್ದಿಗಾಗಿ